Hi, my name is Rebecca and welcome to Yarn and Pajamas. Tonight is episode number 2 of Hooked on Murder. And we're going to travel all the way to Idaho and all the way back to 2006 and talk about the murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart. So grab yourself something to work on. I grabbed myself that sweet and chunky baby blanket I was working on. Get yourself something to drink. I made myself some iced tea, some strawberry morning iced tea from David's Tea. It is so delicious. It tastes just like a strawberry. Get cozy wherever you're the coziest at. And I am going to tell you the story of Cassie Jo Stoddart's murder. So Cassie Jo Stoddart was a 16-year-old junior at Pocatello High School in Bannock County, Idaho. From all accounts, she was very, just vibrant, vivacious. She loved life. She was very serious about school, and she had, big plans for her future. So on the night of September the 22nd in 2006, Cassie was house sitting for her aunt and uncle, Allison and Frank. And they had a house on Whispering Cliffs. So the night of the 22nd, Cassie invites her boyfriend, Mark Beckham, over to hang out. So Mark comes over, and they're later joined in the evening by 2 more of their friends, Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk. So when Tori and Brian arrive at the house, Cassie takes them on a tour, shows them around. So, Cassie is here in this big house. She's babysitting a couple of cats and a couple of dogs and just chilling in her aunt's house for the weekend. So she gives the boys a tour of the house, and they go upstairs to the living room to watch a movie. So during the movie, Brian and Tori say that they would rather go to the movies and actually watch this movie. So they leave to go to the theater, leaving Cassie and Mark at the house by themselves. Well, what Cassie and Mark didn't know was that Brian had secretly unlocked the basement door, and Brian and Tori later returned to the house. So as Mark and Cassie are sitting upstairs just chilling, watching TV, the boys break into the house and they start making noise down in the basement, trying to lure Cassie and Mark down there. When that doesn't work, they locate the circuit breaker and they turn off the lights to the entire house. And that still doesn't work. Cassie or Mark don't go to the basement. So the boys turn the lights back on, but only in parts of the house. So meanwhile, upstairs, Cassie is a little bit freaked out. And she asks Mark if he would spend the night with her there. So Mark calls his mother and asks, "Hey, this is what's going on. Can I spend the night here with Cassie?" Mark's mother says no, but counters with that Cassie can come and stay at the Beckham residence, and that Mrs. Beckham would bring her home to the house on Whispering Cliffs the following morning. Cassie declines the offer because she wants to stay with the animals in the house, seeing that's what she was paid to do and that she wanted to be responsible. So it was about 10:30 that evening when Mrs. Beckham arrives to pick Mark up, and Mark leaves. So during the time of going home, Mark calls Tori on Tori's cell phone to see what he's doing. And when Tori answers, he's whispering. And during the conversation, Mark can barely hear him because he's whispering. So Mark assumes that he's in a theater and just hangs up. So now Cassie is alone in the house with the animals, and unbeknownst to her, she is alone with Tori and Brian downstairs. So Brian and Tori earlier had went to a pawn shop and purchased some knives. And this was, when I say earlier, it was like days prior. So they purchased some knives. Brian purchased a dagger style knife, and Tori purchased a hunting knife with a serrated blade on one side. So with Cassie alone in her home, the boys start making noises downstairs again, hoping to lure her down to the basement. But it doesn't work, so they start with messing with the lights again. And again, that doesn't work. Cassie never goes to the basement like they want her to. So they're forced to go upstairs. Once the boys are upstairs, they locate Cassie, and she's on the couch and she's laying down. They start slamming bedroom doors and closet doors to scare her. And when she raises up from the couch, they pounce on her. And they stab her multiple times, more than 30 times. During the autopsy, it was proven that 12 of the stab wounds were potentially fatal. And of those 12 stab wounds, 11 of them were made with a serrated knife, and only one of them was made with the smooth-edged knife. All of the other stab wounds that Cassie suffered were proven to be non-life-threatening, but they couldn't pinpoint which one was the one that actually killed her, but that there were 12. So once the boys left, and I wrote this down, I've got it right here because I wanted to be able to say it. Her body was found that following Sunday by her aunt and uncle. And when the police started investigating, they quickly started talking to the people. So they talked to Mark, and then they talked to Tori and Brian. Well, Tori and Brian's stories weren't really matching, and so the police started honing in on them because of that fact. So Brian broke down and told them the story of what happened to Cassie. And he even took the police to, it was called Black Rock Canyon, where they had disposed of the murder weapons and costumes that they had worn. They had worn black costumes with like white faces, and they were inspired by the Scream movies. So during the investigation, the police found videotapes of the boys that they had made. Some of them were made during school where they were plotting to kill someone. And at first, they had picked a different person, but it became that they changed their plans and they picked Cassie, who was their friend. She was in their friend group. She knew them. She hung out with them, knew them enough to invite them over to the house to hang out with her and her boyfriend while she was house sitting. So on these videotapes, one of the quotes that they found was of Brian saying, "We found our victim, and sad as it may be, she is our friend. But you know what? We all have to make sacrifices. Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddart and her friends." So on this night, they had planned to kill Mark as well. So if Mark had not left with his mother, things could potentially have been way different. I mean, we wouldn't know the outcome of what would have happened. Maybe he, you know, would have died there with Cassie that night. Or maybe the two of them could have fought off Brian and Tori. We'll never know that. They also found more videotapes that the boys had done. And one of them was right after her murder. And it has Brian recorded saying, "Just killed Cassie. We just left her house and this is not an effing joke. I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body. It just disappeared. Dude, I just killed Cassie." So it was almost as if he was bragging about it. He claimed that they were inspired by the movie Scream and the Columbine High School Massacre. But these two 16-year-old boys planned the death of their friend just to kill someone, just because. A lot of the other videotapes were them saying, you know, it's just, that's how it is. I want to know what it feels like to murder someone. And it was just very disturbing that these two 16-year-old boys could go to such lengths and do such a brutal thing to one of their friends. So they were both put on trial, both charged with first-degree murder and first-degree conspiracy to commit murder. In 2007, they were convicted. I believe Brian was convicted in April of 2007, and then Tori was convicted in June of 2007. And they both were sentenced the maximum 25 to life without parole, I believe, plus an additional 30 years for the conspiracy charge. So these two boys ruined not only Cassie's life and the life of her family, but also their life and the lives of their parents and their families. I mean, their families have to live with what they done. And I'm sure that it was probably a small town. It's just very sad that this young girl had to lose her life for no reason, just because two people decided they wanted to know what it felt like to kill someone, which is not a normal feeling in my book. But that was that was the story of Cassie Jo Stoddart. It's a short one tonight. So that's it for the second episode of Hooked on Murder. I hope you guys liked this short little true crime tonight. And I will see you guys in a couple weeks with a new murder and hopefully a new project. Until the next video, bye.